This is the Pepsi First Intermission Report, live from Laval, Quebec, Canada. Bears and Rocket through one period. I'm Fox 43 Sports Director Todd Sadowski. I recently had a chance to sit down with Bears assistant coach Patrick Weller. He's been behind the bench with Todd Nelson and Nick Bootland for both of the team's Calder Cup championships. Take a listen to what he's learned about this year's squad. We're at that halfway point, thereabouts. What have you learned about this year's team? I was talking on the broadcast. I've seen a lot of 2-1 games down the stretch. Seeing some 4-2, 4-3, you know what I mean, 4-3. This team's obviously very capable of scoring. What do you see from this year's team compared to the last couple of years?
Yeah, I think this year we've learned a lot. I think we've gone through a lot of peaks and valleys. I think offensively we've been great at times, and then we've gone through that lull. And I think just in what really stands out is our standard defensively has been a little bit below par. And we've had to change up a few things. We've had to adapt to different personnel. And it just hasn't come as easy as the years before. So it's nice to go through these changes, go through some tougher times, which makes you appreciate winning a little bit more.
You get a great look at the blue liners, and we've talked to some of the defensemen. They've always had a lot of depth in the last few years. What does that allow you as a coaching staff, you as a D coach, to do when you're working with guys? Ethan Bear had told us, look, it reminds them it's disrespectful if you get a sweater and you don't go out there and give everything that you have. Well, she loved that message that was sent. So, you know, your viewpoint on that, to have the depth and these guys fighting for ice time.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing about, from my personal experiences here in Hershey, I think we've always been very lucky to have a lot of defensive depth. And it's a luxury that not many coaches have. So I try to get everyone moving, get everyone involved, try to even out the minutes as much as possible, where a lot of teams are more top heavy and really force guys through, where you know every one of our players can play 1 through 9, 1 through 10. Even some defenders that we have down in South Carolina are very, very competent. So most teams don't have that, and you know, like you said, it makes you really appreciate when you are in the lineup, you have to bring it. And I think there's nothing better than healthy competition to really drive this thing forward. And we have great leaders back there and just really good people. And I think that's what makes it really enjoyable from my standpoint.
An example is Nikki Lieberman coming in late, right, in the series last year in the playoffs and being able to contribute right away. How much do you guys do, not looking forward, but preparing individuals for a moment such as that, where they could be helpful all the way through? Obviously, you're trying to develop them as an individual player, but do you guys ever look at those kinds of things and say, all right, we got to do this with this player, get this prepared for them, make sure they're in this type of situation? How much analysis are you guys doing when it comes to that when you're dealing with personnel?
Yeah, I think as an organization, they really do their due diligence on telling you what type of player you have. And in terms of Nick Lieberman, for example, he was put in a really tough spot, you know, putting in there for Game 4. And I think the biggest thing from our standpoint as coaches, you want to make sure they feel confident. And I think that's, we do a lot of individual video, a lot of individual skill building throughout the year, but the biggest thing is when they're on the ice, you want to make sure they feel like they're in a good place. And you know, to his credit, he was put in a really tough spot, and you know, you just try to maximize his skill set. You know, he's a really good offensive player. He has really good puck skills, so you try to put him up and for success, put him in a lot of offensive zone situations. Don't start him in the D zone as much, but you know, he's just another example of so many good players that you know have the longer road, where you know nothing's handed to them. They have to go down and prove things. And you know, I always say the cream rises to the top, and we found a good one there. And you see it now with John McDonald. You see all these guys that have gone through that longer road, but that's the identification of this organization, knowing that they have good players in their stable, and it's our job as coaches to set them up when they're called upon.
Way too much good stuff from Wellesley for just one segment. More from him coming up next. You're watching Hershey Bears Hockey on Fox 43.